want to take a bigger picture, a global picture of what's happening with global health funding, which has been funding most of our programs, and where do we go from there? And it's not just about what HIV experience has taught us about how global health works, but what should we be doing differently? And as we enter a different funding landscape. So I'm going to start with what HIV teaches us about global collaboration, then ask what kind of response do we actually want to build from there. From there, I want to name 3 harms that we need to recognize and undo as part of global health funding. And then I'll ask what doing things differently would mean for us. And finally, bringing it back to Pakistan into the question, what are we willing to invest in? Where are we willing to be uncomfortable? What are we willing to let go? So the first section is around what HIV has taught us about global health collaboration. I think HIV is one of the greatest success stories of global health collaboration. Whatever our criticism of global health architecture has been of how funding works, I think it demonstrated something really extraordinary around solidarity. It mobilized financing and political commitment at a scale that change was possible globally. It accelerated research, treatment, prevention. It brought governments and researchers together. It brought civil society and communities, relationship that did not exist before, like we saw in the previous talk. So I don't want this talk to be seen as something against global collaboration, but I think it's quite the opposite. Yes, we have gained a lot from this collaboration. But I think we also need to look at the processes, what has happened in that process. And 2 things can happen at the same time. Global partnership can produce extraordinary gains, but they can also be extraordinarily unequal in power. Resources, decision-making, agenda setting may be somewhere else. Someone else may be deciding what needs to be done, what are the priorities of this country, like hepatitis. In the previous talk, we came to know it's a big burden in Pakistan, yet there's no funding available. So who decides? Countries and communities may participate in programs, so community participation does not always mean it is community-led. And what or how different it is, I think saw a very excellent demonstration in the previous talk. And now the global health landscape is changing. The financing is under pressure, external funding is less predictable, donor priorities are shifting, the government priorities are shifting, countries are being asked to assume greater responsibility and being asked to do that very abruptly when people have not been ready or governments have not been ready. The question is probably no longer simply how to sustain what we have. That's what I'm going to say. I think it's a moment of choice. What happens when the funding model changes? We can ask, how do we replace the money? Or we can ask the bigger question, what kind of HIV response do we want to build? Money matters, but it's second to the question of vision. Because if we don't change the architecture, we are going to produce the same kind of program with different kind of money. So the question is, before money, what is our vision if we have one? So what would an ethical HIV response look like? And I think it's a summary or culmination of what we have been discussing in the morning. It is to be scientifically strong, socially grounded, ethically governed. It should include the community. They should define what they want. They should define the words that we use. And there was a nice example from Nayi Zindagi, where now they use people who inject drugs rather than of nashai and heroin. Some of these things have to be now part of the national program, and it should be sustainably financed. And not simply a response that Pakistan can survive without donors, but one that we can genuinely own, something that defines the realities and lived experiences of our own communities. And I'm not saying that we should be independent of the world, but I think our learning, our contextual program should be contributing the local or to the global evidence base for HIV programming. And what values must guide the vision? I think we did talk in the morning or touch upon some of these things कि बेहिस्सी बहुत ज़्यादा हो गई हमारे लोगों में, तालीम की कमी है, तरबियत की कमी है, attitudes, all of that boils down to values. And then we have 3 values that we need to embody as part of the vision that we have. Equity is not just about resources, and I will talk about it. Solidarity, are we sharing responsibility or simply transferring resources? And responsibility, who in the end is accountable to what happens next? Equity is not just about दवाइयाँ सबको मिलनी चाहिए या जो ज़्यादा गरीब है उसको ज़्यादा और सर्विसेज वहाँ होनी चाहिए and people who earn more should be paying more. It's also about who gets a voice, who has the decision making power. आप community को बुलाते हैं is just for token inclusion or you will really listen to them and take their feedback into practice, or is just a checkbox whose knowledge is recognized. You know, you ask the community, they want something else, but you have defined priorities and this is what you want to do. So at the end of the day, how much of that equity of power, of decision making, of risks and consequences, and also at the end of the day, not just who benefits, but who gets to decide, because who gets to decide then shapes the entire program. Solidarity. And solidarity is more than assistance or more than charity. I think this is what we are very good at. Chilani Welfare Center kholo, logon ko khana khila do. And that my part is done. I think this is what most of us believe, or at least our nation believes that. But the real massive work of standing with them, of डॉक्टर सईद हामिद की टॉक में थी, आई थिंक देयर वाज अ टैप, और मे बी सुबह की जो एलिजाबेथ बसूकी की टॉक थी, यू ऑल्सो हैव टू गो बैक एंड चेक व्हाई द वाटर इज लीकिंग. यू नो, आप प्रिवेंशन पे कब काम करेंगे? यू नो, वी step away from that messy part of implementation, and that somehow I've seen that people believing, academics actually believing that their role is कि मैंने evidence generate करके दे दिया, implementation किसी और का काम है. No, that is not solidarity. And this is what the world has done with us as well, or with everybody. कि US aid funding abrupt cut की, people were not ready. And people were not envisioning as well that it's going to be cut down soon. So global solidarity is not just about resources or priorities defined with not simply for countries and communities. It's also not about less collaboration. It's more about equitable collaboration. So that's solidarity. And another important question, I think that Natasha has been raising when she has been moderating, at the end of the day, who is responsible? Is it governments? Is it global health institutions? Is it global health donors? Is it the researchers? Communities? It is not just more about कि पैसे कहाँ से आएंगे, who is going to pay for it, but who is going to make it happen? Because implementation, or people who work in the field or who interact with the community know it's really difficult and it's really messy and it's not easy going out to meet people, listening to them, building that trust. But that responsibility also has to be matched with power. Power किसी के पास है और जिम्मेदारी किसी के पास है, तो it doesn't align. So I think these are three core values that we need to think about when we redesign our programming or when we design our vision. And eventually it has to move from donor-defined priorities to national-defined priorities, not local implementation. It should be local ownership. Just like हमने, sorry, I couldn't remember the name of the lady who was sex worker जो पिछली talk में थी. Last name was Abdullah. Yes, Philista. This is what she was saying कि आप आगे हमारी बात सुन रहे हैं या उस पर अमल भी कर रहे हैं, हमें सिर्फ सीट पे बिठा रहे हैं, क्या वाकई हमारी बातें सुनी भी जा रही हैं और उस हिसाब से फीडबैक भी लिया जा रहा है. Then you're changing programs. This is when people start trusting you. Research on communities or knowledge with communities or research with communities, what they think is best for them. From short-term projects to sustainable systems, accountability for donors to shared accountability. But before I get into what kind of program is this now, for us to change to a new program, we also need to know what is happening now. And what global health funding may have done good, it also has done a lot of harms. In the past few years, a lot of literature has been coming out critiquing coloniality that exists within global health funding and how it has changed or shaped the way knowledge is being produced and programs are being implemented. And I want to name three forms of harms, and I talk about coloniality of power, of being, and of knowledge. And coloniality is more dangerous than colonization because it's invisible. It's an invisible system of economics, of finances, of culture, of knowledge that keeps domination in the hands of already who are dominating. And the first one, I think the problem with global health has been coloniality of power. So the donors up where in Seattle or in Geneva, जिन्होंने कभी travel भी नहीं किया होता शायद इन मुल्कों में, उन्होंने कभी बात की हो, who are affected, they are sometimes designing these policies. They are deciding where money has to go, and जो ज़्यादा disease burden है वहाँ money नहीं जाता है. They control the resources, they set the research and program, they set who needs to be funded, who gets to be valued as part of their ecosystem. And I think what's worse is we reproduce the same values within our own systems. Proximity to whiteness is seen as credibility. And agar aap privileged hain, you speak their language, you speak in the way that they want you, you're seen as most trusted, you're seen as expert. And some of the things that we were talking in the morning, the way we treat our communities, or जो डॉक्टर मना कर देता है कि मैंने शायद इसको हाथ नहीं लगाना है, it's the same power differential that's coming from the top and is flowing from top to bottom. And these things have to change in the community, or it has to come from the top as well. And what's the harm? Power remains concentrated elsewhere. Local actors are positioned primarily as implementers rather than decision makers. We don't remain epistemic partners in the research or in knowledge production. We just remain implementers. While you may be glorified as a local PI, we don't actually have a say in how knowledge is being produced or seen. The second one is coloniality of being, and to me this has been one of the most insidious harms of global health and global health funding. It's what happens and how you start seeing yourself. Because it has a way of defining, whose standards define competence and success, and also whose standards define humanity. When someone dies in the West, or वहाँ पे कोई shooting होती है, a white man dies, compared to hundreds that may die in Palestine or Gaza or in Congo, the level of response that comes, that decides किसकी humanity ज़्यादा important है. So I think, and as researchers or as community, we also start what Frantz Fanon says for the black man, and I say brown man also, and brown women probably. There's only one destiny, and it is white. We start feeling so inferior कि हमारा self esteem, हमारा self worth, we have to look like them, we have to talk like them. जो उन्होंने decide कर लिया evidence based guidelines वही होनी चाहिए. जिस तरह की research वो चाह रहे हैं, इस तरह के questions वो चाह रहे हैं, हमें उस language में publish करने चाहिए, वरना जो है maybe we won't be accepted. So, and अगर हमें knowledge होता भी है, I think we feel so subjugated. That probably is not worthy or it's not valuable. I should not be sharing it. So what happens is the same paradigm gets reinforced over and over. And the third one is coloniality of knowledge. Whose knowledge counts? Who gets to ask these questions? Who sits and frames call for proposals? Even who decides what's valid evidence? Dignity की बात हो रही थी, and I remember मैं सोच रही थी 18 साल हो गए मुझे ग्लोबल हेल्थ में काम करते हुए, मैंने सिर्फ एक पेपर पढ़ा है लैंसेट में which talks about dignity. So when dignity is not part of the value system, when it's not going to be published, it's not going to be funded, you won't see it in your programs as well. I was reading a paper today, an article on Substack by Dr. Habib Benzian, who's a South African dentist. He writes about global health. And a very interesting title, What Global Health Chooses to Cool. And the amount of investment that goes into vaccines, कि आज कोई drugs को ठंडा रखने के लिए और cold chain के लिए, and yet where they are administered, वहाँ पे आप AC नहीं लगा सकते, वहाँ के लिए आपके पास funding नहीं आती, इंसानों को cool रखने के लिए आपके पास पैसा नहीं आता है. And that's such a stark evidence of what they count as human. आपकी जो दवाइयाँ हैं वो तो ठंडी रह सकती हैं, वो आपको उसके लिए पैसे दे सकते हैं, इंसानों के लिए वो आपको पैसे नहीं. And what happens is we internalize it. We start thinking our people deserve less because that's what the white man thinks, because the person who's giving me funding thinks that is what I also think. Which is in such a contrast to what I have seen at the logo of SIUT. We cannot let them die because they cannot afford to live. This is where we have lost dignity in the process of global health funding. And this is a quote by, I don't remember now where she's based, but probably an African woman. And she has a book on methodologies, indigenous research methodologies, and she says the word research is probably the dirtiest word in the indigenous world's vocabulary. लोग आते हैं आपसे data extract करते हैं और चले, and the communities now know that. ये आए हैं सिर्फ data लेने आए हैं, and they have learned skip patterns कि अगर मैं यहाँ पे ना कह दूँ तो अगले सवालों से मुझसे नहीं पूछे जाएंगे. So what have we lost in the process? We have lost trust. We come with our own incentives. इस तरह कितना डेटा चाहिए, फटाफट 2 सालों मुझे RCT करनी है और जो रिचर्ड होटन इसको पसंद करेगा ये पब्लिश हो जाएगी. And my promotion will be there, but what happens to these communities? So should we do things differently? I think there are 5 commitments that I can think of. Redistribute power, and Melba has really spoken about this a lot in the previous talk, so I won't really go deep into it. But what I have come to understand is the love for power is something that makes you the most vulnerable. And letting go of power is the most free that you can ever be. It's all that I have lost that has set me free. I think, and power is everywhere. घरों से लेकर departments में, divisions में, governments में, it's everywhere. And it's how we learn to redistribute power, but for the right things. Restore dignity and agency. And again, आप इतनी इज्जत दें अगर आप community participants को, like Melba ने दी, she was a sex worker, but the way she has trained her and she has invested in her, she has brought her together, उसको law पढ़ाया है, उसको बिठाया है. I cannot imagine someone doing it here. My vision is कोई रेडी गोट से या कोई इब्राहिम हैदरी से, मटियारी से कोई औरत कभी बैठ कर अपने मसलों की इस तरह बात करे. Maybe that's we should be envisioning. Reclaim knowledge. This is for our academic community कि आप, I think we need to think कि हमारी knowledge where is needed the most, किससे knowledge आनी चाहिए. Capacity building नहीं है. Maybe we don't know where capacity exists. These communities have the knowledge. They know what are the right answers. They know what are the priorities, and they can help you do it. I think this is where the academic community now needs to move. I remember having a conversation with one of my very good colleagues. Evidence generation पे उनका काम था. And I told her, but this doesn't make sense practically. तो इस research के बाद क्या होगा इस trial के बाद? And she said, that's not my job. That's the job of an implementation scientist. जब resources आपके पास कम हैं और आप ये काम कर रहे हैं, who gets to decide what's your role and what's not your role? If you cannot design your trial with sustainability in mind, then what's the point of using those resources? And national ownership. And individual ownership. I always wonder why somebody didn't do something about that, and I realized I was that somebody. Move for donor defined priorities. I think this is what has happened with Kenya. They have owned it. They have owned the problem. They have owned the community. They have owned their people. Unko ownership di hai, and you see the result that's coming out now. This is how they are sustaining it. And the last thing, repair and be accountable. And it comes with when you start distributing power and you have the courage to do that. You have the courage to have humility. This is when, when I was doing a patient experience initiative, I was looking at patient feedback forms and complaints that come in. And so I started exploring the literature. And the literature says that most people or most families just want you to acknowledge that you made a mistake. They don't want anything more than, and that is what restores connection. And it is possible with these communities. We can go back to them and we can tell them, you know what, we made a mistake. Let's do it together. Let's do it differently. I think these are the 5 commitments that I can think of. So lastly, what does this mean for the future? I think the choice is not, it's not a dichotomous choice. It's not about global and local. We don't need less collaboration. We do benefit from collaborations. But we need a different kind of collaborations. We are not just passive recipients. We are just not in for the money. Global resource and expertise should strengthen national and community ownership. We should ask for where we need to invest in most. We need to maybe ask for more funding for trust, for building relationships, for tackling shame, for bringing in more people into global health, for making it more multidisciplinary. You may not always need physicians and ID specialists. Talking to communities, building their trust, ये social scientist का काम है, ये psychologist का काम है, but you won't see these people in your programs. And shortly, I think practically what can we do? We can define priorities, strengthen our own institutions, redefine our own value systems. If Lancet में publication does not make you an expert, bringing $1 million drug doesn't make you an expert. Experts can be people like Melba. They can be people like, sorry, what was it? Philister. Integrate HIV into stronger health systems. जो आप अलग से एक parallel program run करते हैं अपनी parallel funding के साथ, actually destroys health systems. It doesn't build your strength. But this push has to come from our own people कि हमें इस तरह का program चाहिए जो इस तरह integrate हो जाए. And what would genuine change require? I think it's not just about the program, it's not just about funding, it's about the entire incentive system, it's about the entire value system, it's about It's about courage, I would say, the courage to let go, the courage to have the humility, the courage to ask the right question, the courage to put in the effort to do the right thing. मैंने देखा लोग हमारे मुश्किल काम से ही भागते हैं, मुश्किल conversation से ही भागते हैं. This does not lead to change. It will require us to be uncomfortable. So when I was making this talk, a very interesting meme मेरे सामने आया. If you have seen Parizad, a man poor in looks and also poor in wealth, and उसको एक औरत एडवाइस देती है कि तुम पैसे बनाते जाओ, लोग तुमसे रिश्ते खुद बनाएंगे. I think that is what global health has followed. हम पैसे बनाते गए हैं और समझते हैं कि काम होता जाएगा. In the end, he actually gives up his money. This is when he finds true relationships. I think this is what we have to do here as well. Money cannot be the vision. When money becomes the vision, this is then what you see epidemic of HIV. क्योंकि हमारा इम्पैक्ट पे तो नज़र ही नहीं है, हम तो ये देख ही नहीं रहे कि हमारे लोगों पे, हमारे बच्चों पे इम्पैक्ट क्या हो रहा है. The real test of sustainability will be whether program survives the next grant cycle. I think it's about the capacity, the institutions, the relationship and knowledge. Do they dream? What's your legacy? सिर्फ पैसा बना रहे हैं आप, लोग छोड़ रहे हैं जो ये आपके आगे कंटिन्यू करेंगे, कितनों को आप इंस्पायर कर रहे हैं. And I think, I mean, लोग कह रहे हैं USAID की फंडिंग कट हुई है, बहुत सारे डेथ्स हुए हैं, but I think it should have happened and we should have envisioned it. And I'm surprised कि हमने क्यों नहीं सोचा ये एक दिन ये फंडिंग खत्म हो सकती है. कौन कब तक घर चला सकता है आपका? आप सगे माँ बाप भी आपको खिलाना बंद कर देते हैं एक दिन, you know. One doesn't discover new lands without consenting to lose sight of the shore for a very long time, and I think USAID has done that. We have lost sight of the shore for a very long time. So what has happened now? We need to think of a new model of solidarity where we need to build our own self-esteem, our own self-worth. We do have the knowledge. We are good, we have good understanding. हमारे मसलों को हमसे बेहतर कौन जान सकता है? Yet we are waiting कि गोरा आके मुझे कहेगा ऐसे ऐसे करना है और हम सब लकीर की फकीर तरह चल पड़ते हैं. No, this not has to happen. And this is why I think we need to produce a critical mass of people who are not bioethicists, critical bioethicists, not epidemiologists, critical epidemiologists, not ID specialists, critical ID specialists. Mazid log chahiye. We need a mass of people. We need a coalition. So lastly, my slide is 4 questions. What's our vision? Who gets to define it? What will it take us to realize it? And are we willing to give what it takes? सेमिनार से अलावा हम बहुत कुछ करने को तैयार हैं या नहीं हैं? Thank you.